Hare Krishna, everyone. Nanda Vraja Dasa. Welcome to this morning Srimad.
Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you for coming together. I'll start with Radha Madhava, and then we'll look at the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's verse is Canto 5, Chapter 1, verse number 18. So I'll actually request His Grace Avaicharan Prabhu to share the screen for Prabhupada Lila Mitra.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm sharing.
I'll start with Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Shirvadadari Jana Vallabha Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kunja Bihari Krishna Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama 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 Jaya Shri Radha Madhava Gotai, Radha Sundara Vidhari, Radha Girdhari Ki Jai, Shri Prabhupada Shri Guru. So today we are reading from Shri Prabhupada Lila Mitra. All right. Sitting on the old carpet, he spoke quietly and personally. I may be going, but Guru Maharaj and Bhakti Vinod are here. He looked towards the painting of his spiritual master and Bhakti Vinod Thakur. I've asked them to kindly take care of all of you, my spiritual children. The grandfather always takes care of the children much better than the father. So do not fear. There's no question of separation. The sound vibration fixes us up together, even though the material body may not be there. What do we care for this material body? Just go on chanting Hare Krishna and you'll be packed up together. You'll be chanting here and I'll be chanting there. And this vibration will circulate around the planet. Several devotees rode with Prabhupada in the taxi. Bhavananda in the front with the driver, Rai Rama, and Kirtananda in the back beside their spiritual master. When Kirtananda sees Vrindavan, when Kirtananda sees Vrindavan, Prabhupada said he will not be able to understand how I could have left that place and come to this place. It is so nice. There are no more cars like here, rushing, whoosh, whoosh, and smelling. Only there is Hare Krishna. Everybody always chanting.
Am I listening?
Thousands and thousands of temples. I will show you, Kirtana. We will walk all about there, and I will show you. Brahmana began to cry. And Prabhupada patted him on the back. I can understand that you are feeling separation, he said. I am feeling for my Guru Maharaj. I think this is what Krishna desires. You may be coming there to me and being trained up. And we will spread this moment all over the world. Raya Ram, you will go to England. Ramanda, you will go to Japan or Russia. That's all. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhupada is feeling separation, and so are the the original disciples, because the special master is going away to India. And Prabhupada is so reassuring. He said, "Oh, don't worry. I have prayed to my Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Saraswati Guru Swami Maharaj, and also Bhakti Vinod Thakur, whose picture was there, and they'll take care of you." But initially, being so close to Srila Prabhupada, they are feeling separation, and Brahmananda start crying. Such a nice episode. So now we'll share the Bhagavatam verse. Prabhu, you can share today's verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 1, Text 18. So before I start, I'd like to make a disclaimer. This Bhagavatam is very, very transcendental, and I don't have a qualification to speak on this, but by the order of my special master, he shows some gleams of hope in me, just for my own purification, and also to do service to the Vaishnavas. I've been requested to do this class today, and so if you find any discrepancy, please do come up with any comments or reflections to share. Okay. So Prabhupada ki jai. So today's verse is verse 18. Ya sat saptanam vijigir samano grahesu nirvishya yatyata purvam atyati durga trita urjitam urjiratim Krishnenu kaman visharaj vipaschit. Ya sat sapatam vijigi samano Jesu nirvishya yateta purvam atyeti durga stritam urjitaram Krishnesu kaman vicharyat vipasit. Somebody else like to recite? Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Ya Shat Shapatnan Bijigishmano Griheshu Nirvishya Jateta Purvam Atteti Durgasita Urjitarin Kshineshu Kamam Vichared Vipaschit. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Ya Shat Shapatnan Bijigi Shamano Grihesu Nirvishya Jateta Purvam Ottyeti Durgashrita Urjitarin Kshineshu Kamam Vichared Vipaschit. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Prabhupada.
Ya sate saptanane viji kshamanu griheshu nirvishya yetete purvam atteti durga shritaha urjitarin chineshu kamam vijarete vipaschit. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madi, so much. Anybody else? Okay, nobody else. Then we'll go to the word by which synonyms. Anybody would like to share beside the synonyms?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am reading this.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, anyone who shot 6 Shapatnan adversaries, Vijigishu Manu, desiring to conquer, Griheshu in household life, Nirvishya having entered, Yateta must try, Purvam first, Atteti conquers, Durga Asrita being in a fortified place, Urjita are in very strong enemies, Shineshu decreased, Kamam lusty desire, Vicharet can go, Vipaschit the most experienced learn it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anybody would like to do the translation?
May I, Prabhuji, please?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Yeah.
Even if he goes from forest to forest, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage because he is living with 6 co-wives, the mind and knowledge acquiring senses. Even householder life, however, cannot harm a self-satisfied, learned man who has conquered his senses. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anybody would like to delete? Perfect. Perfect by Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
The Vedic system of 4 varnas and 4 ashramas is very scientific, and its entire purpose is to enable one to control the senses. Before entering household life, Grihastha ashram, a student is fully trained to become Jitendriya, a conqueror of the senses. Such a mature student is allowed to become a householder. And because he was first trained in conquering his senses, he retires from household life and becomes Vanaprastha. As soon as the strong waves of youthful life are past, he reaches the verge of old age at 50 years or slightly more. Then, after being further trained, he accepts sannyasa. He is then a fully learned and renounced person who can move anywhere and everywhere without fear of being captivated by the material desires. The senses are considered very powerful enemies. As a king in a strong fortress can conquer powerful enemies, so a householder in Garhastha ashrama, household life, can conquer the lusty desires of youth and be very secure when he takes Vanaprastha and Sannyasa. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So I'm going to change my phone. 1 second, just give me. Om Jnana Tirvidasya Jnanandina Salakaya Chakshurvichamena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yata Padakamalam Shri Guru Navaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunatamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savabhutam Parijana Sahitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhavitam Cha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesa Gopisakanta Sadakanta Namaste Saptakanchana Gorangi Radhavinda Vaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakarpataruvesha Kripasindhurevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pstaya Bhutale Himate Tamal Krishna Goswami Namini Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pstaya Bhutale Himate Bhakti Charu Swami Namini Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pstaya Bhutale Himate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Chari Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pashatati Satarani. So once again, welcome to this morning Bhagavatam class. We've been reading this Canto 5, Chapter 1 for about 6-7 days, maybe more. And just to give a context to this chapter, yeah, looked up recap. So we see in the previous chapter, Canto 4 and the last chapter, I think chapter 36 or something, we see Narad instructing the Prachetas. And the Prachetas ruled for many thousands of years. And then they just about forgot the instruction of Lord Shiva. And at that time, Narad came and enlightened, reminded them about the mission of life. And after that, the Pachitas left. They left the kingdom in the hands of the ministers, and they just left. And they said they achieved the transcendental service of Guru, Sri Krishna. So when this narration was being taking place between Vidura and Maitreya Muni, and then Maitreya Muni, so Vidura leaves for Hastinapur, and Maitreya Muni concludes there. So this chapter starts with the question by Parikshit Maharaj to Sukadeva Goswami. Parikshit Maharaj said, you have spoken about the lineage of Uttanapad and Uttanapad and Dhruva Maharaj and all these great devotees. And what about his brother, Priyavrata Maharaj? At that time, he was still a brahmachari. Said he was amazed that he had heard that Priyavrata Maharaj took up Grihastha life, and he was quite concerned. He was saying, how is it possible that Priyavrata Maharaj, who was in meditating, practicing Krishna consciousness or bhakti for many years, can take up Grihastha life? Is it not contradictory? Is not Grihastha life it's like a trap where you cannot get out? He was quite concerned. He wanted to know from Sukadeva Goswami, how is that Priyavrata Maharaj accepts Grihastha life? In the beginning verses of this chapter, Prabhupada explains that Grihastha life is quite, can be very like an undercooper, unending well, dark well. If somebody falls in it, it's very hard to come out. Then, because this is a very nice question, and Sukadeva Goswami started narrating how Priyavrata, at that time it's called Prince Priyavrata, accepted Grihastha life. So here we can see Lord Brahma had this son, Swayambhav Manu, and through Sutrarupa, he had these two sons, Uttanapad and Priyavrata. Of course, the Priyavrata lineage traces to Dhruva Maharaj, and Dhruva Maharaj, through his wife Uttama, begot two sons, Utkala and Vatsara. So Utkala did not accept the kingship. He just went to meditate. But his other son, Vatsara, took the kingship and rule of the world. And then whole lineage comes to King Veena, Pitu Maharaj, and then King Prachanda Bharishat and the Prachetas. So in the other side, we had all this in the previous Canto 4, but in this Canto 5, Parikshit Maharaj was quite keen to hear about the activities of Priyavrata Maharaj. He was very, very curious to know why Prince Priyavrata accepts Grihastha life. So this is the background. So here then what happens, we have Priyavrata's father, Swayambhav Manu, request him to take up the control of the kingdom, and then his Narad Muni asking to take up just do bhakti, don't become Grihastha, and there was a bit of a conflict, and Prince Priyavrata was in a confusion, very much like Arjuna was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra at the beginning of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and he was confused what to do. And this contradiction, his father wanted to take up the control of the kingdom, and here Narad Muni instructing something else. So he was also very reluctant to take up the Grihastha life, because for obvious reason, because he had practiced Krishna consciousness for many years, and he knew the Grihastha life is quite risky. So we have a scene where this indecision, Priyavrata Maharaj is not able to take up decision, and there is pressure from his father to take kingship, and his special master Narad Muni asked him to do that thing. So at that time, Lord Brahma, accompanied by the demigods, and comes in the swan, and we see Priyavata Maharaj is meditating, is in a hill, and there we have Brahmaji coming, and they do business to Brahmaji, and Brahmaji start instructing. This is a scene where Brahmaji is giving reason why he should take sannyas. I mean, today's verse is very instructive, because in this verse, Brahmaji is saying that one whose senses are very controlled is like a fortress. They'll not allow the residents of the fortress to be defeated by the forces of Maya, who are this fortress guarding the soul, the person or the king from all the attacks of Maya. So one whose senses are very controlled can be self-satisfied and rule the kingdom without any anxiety. So, just prelude to this verse today, we can see how Lord Brahma is giving some reasons why he should have take up Grihastha life. So we see similar situation I mentioned in previous time, that that Arjuna Maharaj was also confused at the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. He gave quite a few reasons. He says, "Oh Krishna, what will come out of this battle? I don't want to take up this battle, because what's going to happen is that the family tradition will be destroyed, and there will be one Sankara, and there will be a lot of unwanted population, and all the social work like building wells, good roads, the social structure will collapse." He gives quite a few reasons. He said, I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle. Nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness. He said, "Oh Govinda, of what avail to us a kingdom, happiness, or even a life itself, when all those for whom we may desire are now arrayed in the battlefield?" So he's quite confused and gives these reasons. And here, Prince Priyavrata is not giving reason, but inside he's very reluctant to take up this service of being Grihastha. So Brahmaji has to come because he was to convince him. So we can see from beginning of these verses, Brahmaji is giving some reason, just like Krishna told Arjuna, smilingly, that he is a fool, and then started giving all the Bhagavad Gita. So here Brahmaji comes, and he's also smiling, and he's saying, in verse 12, see, this is the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To take up the duty of managing the kingdom, you are quite qualified, and you cannot neglect the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He said even people who have great austerity, intelligence, are very scholarly, are so powerful, but at the end, the order of the Supreme Personality, it prevails. So he said, please, because this is directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you should take it up. This first reason he gives to Prince Priyavrata to take up the Grihastha life. Then the second, this is in verse 12. In verse 14, Lord Brahma says, all of us are bound by the Vedic injunction, which promotes the division of Varna and Ashrama according to Guna and Karma. And this is very difficult to avoid. He says these Guna and Karma divisions are very scientific, and one cannot avoid it. Even one avoids, then there will be subsequent issues coming up. So this is the second reason Lord Brahma gives to convince Prince Priyavrata to take up Grihastha life. Then he says in verse 15, he said by association of different modes of material nature, different bodies are given, and with that happiness and desires. So he said, remain steadfast as he is. So he says, even if you take up, if you remain brahmachari, this because the previous modes, we cannot overcome the modes of material nature, and because of the our karma, we given different bodies, and it's best to stay in your whatever the modes you are in and do your duties. It become very steady. And then in verse 16, Brahma emphasized more. He said, even in liberation stage, one gets body according to karma, according to karma. So even a person who is liberated in this very life, he still has to undergo the effect of the karma, although he is above it. He says the material life is like a dream. We may dream so many things, and we have different experiences in the dream. But once a dream breaks, there's no existence. So he said, material life is like this. You do your duty, and at the end, you'll achieve your result. So do not be despondent. Then he finally says, one who is not self-controlled must always fear material bondage. Do not prematurely accept sannyas. Or so here he says, one is very self-controlled. One does not have to fear these consequences of Grasa life. This is the cornerstone. Grasa life is also very mandatory for progress of the human society. And if somebody stays in Grasa life, if he's self-controlled, and he can be living in Grasa life, in seemingly material life, but still be aloof from it. So this is the crux where Brahmaji asked him why take Grasa life. He said maybe one shouldn't be prematurely take sannyas if there are higher duties. Of course, there are many reasons why Lord Brahma is asking Prince Priyavata to take a Grasa life, because Manu Maharaj is getting old and he wants to retire, and his Prince Priyavata is quite qualified to control the kingdom, and the progeny has to go on. Somebody has to manage affairs of the universe. So these are other reasons, but Brahmaji is not giving that reason. He's convincing Prince Priyavata to take this sannyas, to take up Grasa life. So these are some of the background to this today's verse, where Brahmaji is leading him to this. Okay. Just give me a few minutes. I'll just share some of the verses. Screen share. Start broadcast. So the verses that you have this. Okay, today's verse. Everybody can see the screen?
At the moment, we can see the screen, but it has nothing there. You have previously it was visible, but now it is not visible.
Okay, let me check.
The screen we can see.
Wait a second.
Yeah, now it is visible.
Okay, right. Thank you. So today's verse, just read the translation again. One who is situated in household life and who systematically conquers his mind and five sense organ is like the king in his fortress who conquers his powerful enemies. After one has been trained in household life and his lusty desires have decreased, he can move anywhere without danger. So here, Brahmaji is giving example that one the king who's got a very strong fortress, and he can stay within the fortress, um, and he doesn't have to fear the enemies. So this is a very good analogy, or because the king and his subjects are within the fortress, and the fortress got many gates, and the king feels secure because the fortress is very strong. We can compare like this: if the fortress has got like 5 gates, and the commander, and they're being guarded by very strong commanders, and the chief commander is the mind, and the king is secure because the chief commander is guarding, he's controlling the 5 gates. So these 5 gates are the 5 senses. If any of the gates or any soldiers guarding those gates are weak, then the enemy can come in and cause havoc. So here Ramaji is saying these senses has to be controlled, and it's very difficult to control. But if you do it systematically, your mind, and if you control the senses, then it will be very safe for you. So there are 5 senses and there are 5 gates, and they're being guarded by these commanders, and the chief commander is the mind. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we see there's a comparison of the body as compared to the chariot, and these 5 senses are compared to the 5 horses, and the lagam, or the controlling ropes, is compared to the mind, and the driver is the intelligence, and the passenger is the soul. So if the senses are not controlled through the mind, the bridle, then the horses will take the passenger to anywhere. There will be no direction. Similarly, if the senses are not controlled, then there will be havoc. So here Brahmaji is expecting that if you control the senses, which are already this, because Prince Priyavrata has done a very systematic brahmachari life. In the previous time, we see he was meditating and always reading Vedic literature, very well trained. And so his senses are very controlled, and then the person within the fort will be safe. So there are 5 gates. You can say like sense of smell, the sense of seeing, touch. All these are gates. If any of these gates are become loose, or the soldiers guarding them are become inattentive, then the enemy, the lust, or the things can come in. So this gates have to be very tightly controlled. And the commander-in-chief is the mind. The mind is the strongest strongest sense to control. We see in chapter 6 of Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna, this is chapter 6, which is Dhyan Yoga. Krishna systematically explained how to control the mind, because Arjuna had also this doubt. Let me see if I can share verse 6, Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 6, verse 34. Okay, this is verse 34, where Arjuna is doubting that the mind is very strong. How to control it? So here's this question. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramadi bhavadutam dashyaham nirgham manye vayur evasu duskaram. Translation: for the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So Arjuna also understands that the mind is very strong, very difficult to control. Even is more difficult than controlling the wind. So here Prabhupada explained the mind is so strong and obstinate that it sometimes conquers the intelligence, although the mind is supposed to be subservient to the intelligence. For a man in the practical world who has to fight so many opposing elements, it is certainly very difficult to control the mind. Artificially, one may establish a mental equilibrium towards both friend and enemy, but ultimately, no worldly man can do so, for this is more difficult than controlling the raging wind. So Arjuna has this question. I mean, it's very instructive because only Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying how to control the mind. So in the next verse, Krishna explained how to control the mind. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Asya Maniyatam Mahabaho Mano Durgitam Chalam Abhyasana tu Kanteya Varya Jnanacha Rayate. Lord Krishna said, O mighty son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it's possible by suitable practice and detachment. So there are two elements to control the mind. The Krishna advising abhyasa, a practice, and then vairagya. Vairagya means detachment. So by abhyasa and by detachment, one can control the mind. So these enemy, the five senses, can be very nicely controlled by abhyasa and vairagya. Yeah, Prabhupada writes that in the purport, the difficulty of controlling the obstinate mind as expressed by Arjuna is accepted by the personal Godhead. Krishna also accepts that controlling the mind is very, very difficult. Here, Brahmaji is there, therefore, request, instructing, bring, I think reiterating might be better word, because Prince Priyavata is already trained Brahmacharya, that controlling the mind is the cornerstone of maintaining a good Grihastha life. So here, Professor, at the same time, he suggests that by practice and attachment, it is possible. What is this practice? In the present age, no one can observe the strict rules and regulation of placing oneself in sacred place, focusing the mind in supersoul, restraining the senses and mind, observing celibacy, remaining alone, etc. By the practice of Krishna consciousness, however, one engages in 9 of devotional service to the Lord. So Prabhupada is saying in the current material Kali Yuga, in the current scene, current Yuga, it's very difficult. We have so many distracting things coming up to bombard the mind. It can go out of control. I say by strictly following Krishna consciousness and by observing the 9 types of devotional service, this is possible. He said, the first and foremost such devotional arrangement is hearing about Krishna. This is very powerful method of purging the mind of all misgiving. So first, foremost of controlling the mind is about the abhyasa is to hear about Krishna. So this is how the mind can be controlled. In the lecture given by His Grace Viraj Krishna Prabhu, he says Prabhupada has set up this our morning program such a way, right from Mangalarti to Tulsi Puja, then chanting, then hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, then Guru Puja, and taking Prasadam. He said 90% of the requirement of pure devotional service already covered by this, just morning program. So one is already, this abhyasa, this practice is very important. Very important if one practices this morning program, morning sadhana, morning chanting, morning hearing the Bhagavatam, taking prasadam, deity worship, 90% of the devotional service already covered for the day. So this was Prabhupada very scientifically set up this morning programs. One who follows it strictly, definitely is time to achieve the transcendental service of Guru and Gauranga. So here Krishna is saying the way to control a mind is through abhyasa and vairagya. We see great personalities in Bhagavatam and also in the Vedic literature who have done this very nicely. Even one may be a king or a pauper. If one follows this system given by Krishna, then one can be very safe in Grihastha life. We know the case of King Second, Mr. Rajrishi has already set his example for us to follow. King Janak was also a Rajrishi. We have an example that one time he was listening to the Katha about Krishna in the devotional service, and he was away from his kingdom, from his palace. Then one servant came and said, "Oh, King, your palace is on fire. Please come immediately and organize the rescue." But King Janak was so detached. He said, "No, you look after that. This is more important service." So also, king might be very opulent, but if he's detached, he does his service. He is on this platform of proper Grasta life. We can also sing like King Parikshit. He also gave up his kingdom to listen to Bhagavatam by Sukdev Goswami. So much detached. And even current situation, we see great devotees like His Holiness Lord Govinda Maharaj. He was a Grasta before, but he said he only passed semen, I think 7 times to beget his sons, but he was completely detached, and he was reading all the Vedic literature, very, very elevated. So these are some example we can emulate or in our life, that these are very, very great devotees who have been in Grasta life but still practice Krishna consciousness. Of course, we just read this morning in Prabhupada Lila Mitra that the great devotee Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was fully Grasta. He had a full-time job. He was a magistrate, but he maintained his sadhana so strongly. He said this time management, how he got up in the morning, what he did when he went to office, and took the care of all the cases in a very short time. Although in a family life, he was doing all this very, very efficiently and very in a Krishna conscious way. So these are some of the example. Even our missed here in Kumyu, we have His Grace Jayashala Prabhu and his good wife. I've seen them for many years. Such nice devotees, such nice couple, giving a very good example how one can live an Grasta life, yet practice Krishna consciousness and not be attached to the material life. Jayashala Prabhu actually, quite a few years back, he wrote one book, it's a guide for the Grasta people, and also for the people, brahmacharis who want to get married. He actually took some seminars, and I had that books long time back, and he gives an indication how brahmachari, if you want to take Grasta life, what he should do, and how you can practice Krishna consciousness even in Grasta life. So there's no shortage of example of people living Grasta life. Then Prabhupada says, one who, so in this chapter 6, Krishna is definitely giving instruction on how to control the senses through abhyasa, practice, and vairagya, detachment. And we have given some practical example of devotees or previous acharyas who have practiced this and then come to the stage of Bhagavatam. Even Lord Chaitanya gave this instruction to Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami came from a very elevated family. And his father and uncle were extremely rich. And because they had only one son, they wanted him to take up the look after the estate. But Raghunath Das at that time was very detached. He didn't want to take up this service. So he ran away from home a couple of times, and he met Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya instructed him to go back. And he said, go back and be detached. And he actually gave an example how to be Krishna conscious while still in the family life. He told Raghunath Das, at the time Raghunath Das Goswami, to go back and remain in family life, but be detached. He gave an example, very instructive example. He says, how can you be detached till in the Grasta life? He says, he gave an example of a wife who is a parama. His wife is a husband, but she's also into somebody else. He says this sort of wife will do all the housework spotlessly, prepare a nice meal for the husband, everything going well, and the husband will not suspect there's something going behind his back. But her focus is on her parama. So she's doing all this outwardly, but her focus on her parama, her lover who is outside the married life. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying one can be in the Grasta life, but there are so many impediments, but internally we can be very, very detached. We do not have to be materially affected by the environment. Just like the wife is attached to the parama, she's doing everything outwardly, but internally she's attached. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructs Raghunath Das Goswami to be like that because his father incurred extremely rich and he did not want Raghunath Das to take brahmachari and sannyas. They were very protective and he has already run a couple of times and brought him back. So Lord Chaitanya said, when your time comes, you'll come. This is no doubt. So just mark your time, stay in the Grasta life, make a show of all pound-shilling pence person, do your father's business, but internally be detached. So eventually, Raghunath Das Goswami took shelter of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when the time was right, and he became of course, he's one of the 6 Goswamis. But Lord Chaitanya gave an example how in sometimes difficult situations, our family life might not be very conducive to Krishna consciousness, but one can still practice Krishna consciousness without being offset by the surrounding material conditions. This is a very good example. Then he also met one Brahmana, Lord Chaitanya was in South India. The Brahmana was very attached to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He want to go with Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya, no, you do not do this. Please go back and remain in the family life and just go and do fishing. It's not necessary for you to renounce your family artificially, prematurely, and come to me. You can still remain just alive and practice Krishna consciousness. So these are some of the examples we can see, we can emulate how to be in Krishna life and still practice Krishna consciousness and achieve. So then in these verses, Prabhupada and also Lord Brahma is mentioning this the system of the Chaturvana Maya system, Gunakaran, the 4 divisions of the Varnan Ashrama is the very scientific. And if somebody practices, they can achieve the final result. Whichever stage of life they may be, they might be grasta, they might be sannyas, or they will be brahmachari, or vanapasta, or shudra, whatever stage they are in. If somebody practices system, they can achieve the final goal. It's irrespective of their caste or varna or ashrama. Because in India, this system has been polluted. There's a lot of criticism, especially of Manusmita. Prabhupada mentioned this system is very, very scientific. One cannot neglect it. Even in the British monarchy, we can see it's not obviously visible, but we here see the monarchy is there, the king is there, then the Church of England is there, it's like the Brahmanas, and then there's a military administrative class is there, and the labor class is there. Although it's not outwardly very visible, but it's there because it's the system given by Lord Krishna himself. Because he says Chaturvarna Maya system, Guna Karma Vivhaksam. the division of society divided into these classes according to guna and karma. It's not according to guna and birth, but not by birth, because this system is corrupted and there's so many mismanagement. It got so much criticism, especially about the Manu Samhita, because Samhita was established by that Manu himself. This is very scientific. So end result is the same. Anybody who practices this within the Varna and Ashram system can achieve the result of going back to Godhead. So there's no difficulty. It's so scientific. But look at the current system, where there's no one is anybody hardly is following this Varna and Ashram system, and this havoc in the society. So either the goal, because the current system doesn't recognize what is the goal of life, is to please Haritosam, is to please the Supreme Lord. This is the goal. And when there are no such goals, all these system, the social system, fabricate just goes haywire, and they have so many sub goals which are very materialistic, and there's no peace and harmony in the society. So I think if you read some of the Chinese travelers who came to India thousands of years ago, they observed that in India there were no slaves. Everyone is so safe. There were no thieves, and there were no beggars. Everything was so harmonious. They were just amazed. They call the Western India, they regard as Western heaven. And so this system was progressive, implemented, was working very nicely. Then we have this invasion by the Mughals and the British, and everything went haywire. And then the system sort of collapsed. And now we try to revive it. Prabhupada says one of the missions he has not fulfilled is to establish one and ashram system. But slowly, it's coming back in his disciple are trying to establish it. But it's very scientific, because irrespective of the stage of whether one in a different stage of grasta, one is in a different stage of different ashram, one can still achieve the same goal as the sannyasi if one follows the system. It's very, very scientific. Both of end result is the same, irrespective where you are in the krishnas, in the Varna ashram stage. So if one achieves the final goal, what's the difficulty? Some might not be qualified. The Sudra might not be qualified. He doesn't know any Vedas or something like that. But if he just, as a deity bound, he follows to serve the three other orders, and then then observe regulatory principle, he can also go back to Godhead. So when the end result is same, the system is proven that he achieved this thing. But initially, for harmony of the society, this system has been put in. But now this attain this lot of criticism, but it's not very valid. If somebody practices properly, it can be very effective. The system is very valid and very effective, but it's not implemented properly. If somebody doesn't follow this procedure properly, you're not going to get the results. I have a practical experience of this. When I was a student, we were doing some lab tests, and it set us so many steps. So we're doing organic chemistry, and there was one step you had to put these ceramics chips, so the content doesn't boil over. So because I was in a hurry, I forgot the step, and I said, okay, I forgot this. I just put it anyhow, just to complete the procedure. But when I put it in, the whole content blew over. And then I realized, oh, if one is to follow exactly as the steps are given, if you don't follow the steps, you miss one and you already mismatch and you put your own steps, own procedures, it's not going to work. Similarly, the this system given by the Lord himself is very scientific, but it's not being followed properly, so it's not giving the same results. Now it's been corrupted. Most of the Brahmins are giving position according to their, not according to Varna and Karma, but according to their birth. So the system is not working. So if somebody misses one step, it pollutes the system, it corrupts the system. So the system is perfect, but you don't get the right result because it's not following. It's not the fault of the system, it's the fault of the person not following. So Prabhupada said this system is very scientific, and he's asking Priyavata Maharaj, Prince Priyavata, to go in this, they follow this division of Varna Ashrama very nicely and set a good example and rule the world, and he will be successful. He doesn't have to worry. So we can see that Brahmaji is giving this so many nice instructions to convince Prince Priyavata to take rest of life. Although it's difficult, but somebody this instruction followed to the letter, the result will be very effective. The result will be very congenial, very harmonious, and we can reach the same goal. So what are the takeaways from today's verses? The one is that we have to follow the authority. Here, Lord Brahma had to come down personally to instruct Prince Priyavata. So authority, the coming parampara, who are, if one follows it systematically to the letter, we will get the same result. Secondly, the cornerstone of Grasa life is sense control. The five senses and the mind, if are controlled properly, it protects the king who's living in a very fortress, and king's life and the subject of the king will be very safe. They can achieve the goal of life. So cornerstone, he's saying, Lord Brahma is saying to Prince Priyavata, is self-control and especially the mind. Then we saw how the Lord Krishna gave instruction to control the mind is through vairagya and abhyas, practice, and vairagya detachment. These are two key ingredients. If somebody follows this, then one can control the senses properly to achieve the final goal of Krishna consciousness. The final takeaway is this: the system given by Lord Krishna is very perfect, but if one doesn't follow the procedure, you're not going to get the same result. It's not the fault of the system, it's the fault of the follower who's not taking the system seriously and not following. Just like we have medicine, doctor analyze the disease and given this prescription, but he doesn't follow the prescription, he's not going to get well, then you cannot blame the doctor or the medication because he's not following the system, he's not following the instruction. So following the instructions given by authority is very important. So these are the main takeaway from today's verse. Very instructive, and then we'll see follow on how eventually Prince Priyavata takes the rulership of the universe and follows his father's instruction, because he's come and he's been very successful in this. So I'd like to end here. Any comments or before we start? Before I finish, just like to remind, in this one and ashram system is set up to harmoniously achieve the final goal, but in the end, Lord Chaitanya actually says, "Naham Vipro, Naham Sudro." I'm not this Sudro. I'm not sannyasi. I'm a dasana. I'm the Gopi Bhartu. I am the servant of the Gopis of Vrindavan. So this is still on a material platform, but higher, once you got higher, this we do not, one should not be involved with the material designation of body, one and ashrama, still on a material platform, but system can harmonize to take society to the next step. So eventually, Lord Chaitanya, actually, in conversation with Raman Rai, he says he's still not the best system. He said higher than this is not to be involved in this one and ashrama system, because he identifies with bodies and system. So he even discusses that in favor of the loving service of the Lord. This is the ultimate. So thank you. Sorry, ask any questions, comments before I end here. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna. Okay, doesn't seem to be any comment.
Hare Krishna Guruji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very much for the very nice class,
Thank you, Prabhu.
particularly about the importance of Varnashram system, which is created by the Lord Himself. And so once it is followed perfectly, it will make the society and the individual a devotee of the Lord, ultimately, if he goes that way. It is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita 18:45. It's very clearly stated, by performing their own duties in the Varnashram system, whatever stage one is, he can ultimately go back to Godhead. It is there, clearly written. But at the same time, as you have also told, one who has got, but it is on the material platform, and that is also mentioned in the discussion between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rai Ramananda Rai. Ramananda Rai also told initially that Varnashram system one should follow, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him that "Iya bajo aage ko har." And this is at lower level. You speak something more, and ultimately, finally, what you have told about the opinion of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one is the transcendental platform. Then these system are of no use to him, because he has already reached a stage. He's renounced from everything, and he is already in the Brahmabhuta platform. For him, this doesn't apply. So thank you very much for nightly bringing out these 2 points. That is my takeaway from this, and thank you for the very nice class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. So if there are no other comment, we'll end here. Panchakalpadruvescha Kipasundeva.
Asindubhyevo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Nanda Vraja Prabhu ki jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to assembled devotees. Hare Krishna.